What is on the agenda today?
Today we are going to make an artisan bread. Very simple bread with only 4 ingredients. And the ingredients are flour, salt, yeast.
Let's get this process going.
Sure. So I am going to measure. I have a 1 cup measuring cup. So it requires 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and the best thing to do is to level it like this, and it's required 3 cups, so 2 and 3. I need a little more. All right.
Cups in, and what is the next step?
Yes, and you can use either 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of yeast. I'm just going to use 1 teaspoon today.
That's because you have found that at least the fast-acting yeast, 1 works as well as 2, right?
Yes, and it all depends. The less yeast you put, the longer it takes to proof. That's the only difference.
And how long are we going to proof for?
Well, if you like the sourdoughy taste, you can proof it longer for more hours. If you have a guest or you need to eat dinner or something quick, you need to let it proof at least 2 hours.
All right. So what's the next step?
Yes, and I put 1 teaspoon of yeast, and I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of table salt, okay?
Perfect.
And to this, we're going to combine all together, and I'm going to add 1.5 cup of hot tap water, okay? Make sure it's not too hot, because otherwise it's going to kill the yeast and the bread is not going to mix first all the dry ingredients.
Let's take a look at that. So you're just tumbling it, You're not abusing it.
No, that's it. And then I'm going to pour 1.5 cup of hot water. And you just mix it all together. And remember, this dough is a sticky, wet dough. So you don't need to shake, you don't need to do anything as long as you mix everything together.
So you just roll it and tuck it in.
Yep.
You let that moisture take care of all the dry flour that's left around the bowl, right?
That's right. And as you can see, it's sticking to the wooden spoon. But it's okay, this is the way it should be. So try not to touch it with your hands, because otherwise you're gonna have a messy hand, messy fingers. So as you can see, it's very wet, because as you can see, we didn't use any kind of oil or butter or anything else. So this is the dough. And
holy smokes.
That's all is required, and now we're just gonna let it rest for a couple. Yeast rises better in a dark, warm place. So what I normally do is I cover with a plastic wrap, and I either stick it in the oven, inside the oven.
Non-preheated, of course.
Non-preheated, correct. And let it rise. Right here is the dough that has been resting for a few hours. And as you can see, it doubled in size, and it should be like jello-like, and you can smell the yeast. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scrape it off, and as you do that, see, it's elasticy. So you just gently just hold, and then what I'm gonna do is sprinkle some flour. I'm using a flat cutting board. And you can sprinkle as much or as less flour as you like. Okay, so as you can see, the bubbles are disappearing, and I am going to fall a few times. And it doesn't need to be perfect because this is a rustic artisan bread. So, and I am going to move this. So I am going to use this pan. You can use literally any pans, but the original recipe requires a Dutch oven. And the reason they use Dutch oven is it creates moisture so that the bread can rise. However, I do not have a Dutch oven as of yet, so I am going to improvise. So I'm just going to use a regular pan, and in order to create the same moisture, I'm just going to put some water in another pan and heat it at 450 degrees. And once it's preheated, then I'm going to put the bread in the oven. So the oven is preheated at 450 degrees. I already put the pot, the other container with water is in the oven. So what I like to do is I like to cut it a little bit on top, so it will give that more rustic look, and then it rises a little better. So you can cut it any shape or form, and normally that's the way I like to do it with the scissors. The bread is ready, so let's check it out. Wow, it smells delicious. So we need to let it cool a little bit, so I will pull the bread out with a spatula. Okay, so the bread has been cooling down, so I'm gonna cut a couple of slices. Make sure you use a bread knife. And I like to put a towel under my cutting board so it won't slip while I'm cutting. It smells delicious. So as you can see, the texture inside. Looking beautiful, right? I'm gonna put some butter and have my husband try.
You put a little bread on that butter.
That's right, just like you like it.